Hi, Monica.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Absolutely. We just, before you jumped on, we were just talking about like how interviews are hard and that we're sweating. And I hope you got that.
No, like, I totally get it. I'm sweating. I'm so excited to talk to you guys today. First off, I really want to say congratulations on having the series renewed for a second season.
Oh, thank you.
Really excited about that. And I guess my first question for all of you, and either one of you can answer or everybody can answer, because most of my questions are for everybody. How are you feeling about the audience's reaction to the first season?
Well, did the audience react to the first season?
I don't know. I feel like I heard a lot of good buzz.
It's been great. I feel really good. No, go ahead. Somebody else answer that.
No, I think we're really grateful just to get a second season, a second chance at doing stuff. And so if that's because the audience liked it, we're thrilled. I know for me, I can't really read a lot of stuff about the show. I don't want, so I think, Gabby was kidding when she said, did they react? But we kind of try to just do our best work and hope it lands, but yeah, I mean, when people talk to us, they usually say nice things. So that's wonderful. I think it would be weird if they didn't, but yeah. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Well, then, do you from the people who do say the nice things, what do they say that really resonates with them?
I think, well, I'm thinking of a couple people in particular who I've talked with. I think that they really sort of appreciate the this is going to sound weird saying it about our show, but the depth of the characters, because it's not just silliness. There's that kind of grounding in therapy or behavior that is totally relatable as a human and also works for pets, so it's sort of they appreciate that, and that always makes me happy because I anthropomorphize my animals all the time, and I think that everybody probably does, and so it's nice to hear that lands with people.
It's a really really interesting storytelling, because yes, it's a bunch of house pets, but it's such human storytelling, and I'm really curious about how this idea came together.
Clea.
Clea's good at telling this story.
Well, Gabby and Jen and I met because we were working on Veep together, and we just really got along and loved each other and wanted to work on something outside of Veep. And we all are really obsessed with our animals, and this idea of this group therapy just really inspired us and led to a lot of really fun and silly characters, and then we kind of got together and we started talking about the characters, and then the world kind of started to take shape, and then Housebroken.
Well, Clea's being modest in that Clea Clea came to us after a table read and said, I've always wanted to go to therapy with my cat. Is that a funny idea? And we're like, yeah, that's a really funny idea.
But and you guys made the idea better by saying,
well, you're very kind.
Therapy.
It did transform from that, but she came to us and said, my cat I don't know what my cat's thinking. My cat's always judging me.
So complicated.
My cat's really complicated.
By the way, nothing has changed.
I know.
I can't believe you created an entire show to basically please your cat, and that still hasn't even.
And your cat,
she has no idea the show even exists.
That's crazy.
She doesn't watch it either. She's such a bitch.
She refuses.
Yeah.
And so, is your cat one of these characters?
No, there are no characters on the show based on my cats, and I don't understand because everybody else's pets are on the show.
Well, maybe your cats aren't funny.
No, they're not. You're right. They're not
funny. She does have the most handsome Pilot. She has the most handsome cat in the world.
He is a very handsome cat.
His name is Pilot, and he's super handsome.
Yeah.
And listen, maybe Pilot, because he is a real Romeo.
He could definitely be in the show.
Yeah.
We'll
discuss this offline.
Okay.
We're not. Yeah. We're happy.
Brought up actually something very painful, Monica. That we need to on our own.
And so are these characters based on situations or people in your own life that you've met? Or are these totally original?
Well, a lot of it is, I mean, it's both. It's
Mhm.
both, right? Like, I mean, we definitely are inspired by our own lives and our friends' lives and other, stories we hear about. I mean, like Nibbles was 100% based on, we were working with somebody who literally during a rehearsal of something else got a phone call from her 13-year-old son. And on the phone call, he was like screaming because his hamster was literally in the process of eating the other hamster's face. And he was, and our friend was horrified because she's like, well, because she said, when did that happen? And he said, it's happening right now. I'm watching it. And it was so awful, but so funny. So like Nibbles is obviously just, that's was inspired by that. But, and then a lot of it's original too, or scenarios that we imagine, but well, that's what original is, obviously. Imagine, but both, then both.
Mhm.
One
Yeah.
thing that I really love about the series is how you're able to like talk about very deep and serious things in a really light-hearted way. Do you guys have a rule that you go by, or how do you manage to tackle these difficult subjects while keeping them lighthearted?
Well, it was definitely our intention to try and tackle some of these things, or just, not find answers, but at least explore these issues through the lens of animals, so it would be a little more palatable. So that was our intention from the start. And I think it just helps that our cast is so funny, we can get away with stuff. I mean, when Clea or Lisa Kudrow says something, you're ready to laugh, and then only later do you realize, like, oh shit, that was a serious thing. Like, like the issues are real, and just the cast is so great, and we try to do it. We also try to sprinkle in actual authentic pet points of view too, so it's it's not just a one-for-one comparison, and that makes it funny too. So I mean, in my mind it does. So
No, it's hilarious. I think it's great.
yeah, so I think I mean, and that's something that is evolving too. I mean, I think we're always going to keep that sort of analytical thing going, and all that sort of thoughts and anxieties and all those things that we have as humans, and just keep exploring that, in different varieties and different ways throughout. But season 2 is even, it's that still, and it's just a little bit bigger. And you didn't ask about season 2, but I wanted to plug it. It's a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit sillier, and it's just but it still has that grounded, like, sort of thing that we wanted it from the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of the terrific cast, when it
Mhm.
came to casting these characters, did you already have certain people in mind, or how did you ultimately end up with the cast you have now?
God, we got so lucky. I can't believe we have the cast we have.
I feel like did we write the parts for anyone other? Like, I feel like Tim was the person, like, was always the raccoon.
We always thought of him as a raccoon, yeah,
And I think we thought of Sam as Chico. I feel like, and because we'd
because we're on
Oh
V.
yeah, that
we
was
were
it.
on
Yeah.
Veep, and
I think originally, Cleo, we were assuming you would be a cat because of your
Yeah.
cats.
Yeah.
And then she just kept pitching such hilarious stuff for Elsa. We're like, well, wait a minute, you're obviously Elsa. Like, it's just, it's such a subtle, smart, funny character. And so when, like, nobody can pitch an Elsa joke like Clea, so it's just that's
I've
that's
noticed I haven't
it.
been around, so there aren't as many Elsa jokes. Maybe that's
and Sharon, I feel like we
oh yeah.
we just Sharon, I think we was Tabitha early on. But
And I
like
think because it's animation, like, we just got amazing people who were up for doing it. I guess maybe it's easy to audition, and it's just like, why not give it a try? And I don't know how we got so lucky, but the most amazing people just came up and auditioned, and we were like, oh my God, yes, please. Like, yeah, that was what was amazing. We couldn't believe the quality of actor that we got. Just
it did not hurt that Clea and Sharon were already attached.
Yeah,
And
that was they were our sparkly objects that were
Yeah.
like, do you want to work with these amazing people? Then you have to be a dog who licks himself.
Yeah.
Like,
and then people wanted to do it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you guys have any characters in particular that you're very fond of?
well, I feel like
It definitely rotates. I mean, it goes, I love them all so much because they're all so different.
I do think something Gabby said before is true for me too, which is I love writing for Honey because I feel like, well, I feel like she has I have a lot of her same issues, sort of the wanting to be right and not be embarrassed, but usually being wrong. And that kind of like, I feel like there's a lot of, I connect with her, but then I also just like, I love Diablo because anything he says is hilarious. And it's just like, he's just, and that's mainly Tony. It's just like, you could give him anything and it would be hilarious. And the same with Max. And I love what an asshole Max is. Like, they're all like, they all have so many layers. I love them all. That's a boring answer, but
That's a great answer.
and of course, Elsa.
I love basically anything that Maria Bamford does.
Oh my God.
Like all of her, she can do so many characters and everyone is so funny and weird and specific and different. I am so blown away by her.
Yeah, same.
And that's like, I mean, I think that's the luckiest thing in the world. I can't believe she signed on basically just to do Jill because we thought, well, the human character is sort of like, nobody wants to really hear from the human in this world. It's all about the animals. So we better get somebody really hilarious to be the human because we're not going to be writing that much for her. And then like during table reads, when we wouldn't have enough people, we bet, okay, Maria could read this, or maybe Maria could read this. And then as soon as she reads it, you cast her because she's so funny and brilliant. And I mean, I think the biggest surprise to us, I think, was when she did Small Fun Raccoon.
Oh my God. And that's
a little raccoon that hangs out with Raccoon.
Yeah.
And she just gave him this character that was, I mean, it's just like, we never could have written anything like that. She just imbued it with everything crazy and funny. She's so good.
That's so awesome. And then on that same note, do you guys have any favorite episodes that like you just are really proud of?
Well, I have a quick answer because I say this all the time. Episode 111 that Clea wrote. I think it's so great because it's like the first time we have all our cast, all our animals like trapped in a room. They have to figure out who murdered somebody. There's twists and turns and you learn new things and there's surprises and I love it. And then I would say also for season 2 and 3, the episodes coming up that Clea wrote are also some of my favorites. And I'm not saying that just because she's on the Zoom, because we have all the other writers on Zoom too now, but their cameras are off and they just have to hear how much we love Clea. So
I asked them to do that. I've just been feeling I've been missing everybody and I want to.
There's a lot of fun episodes coming up, but there are a couple because Clea like creates kind of a different world. Like that one that we did last season was, you know, a murder mystery, sort of a Hercule Poirot, like everyone in the same room and who did it. And then in season 2, she wrote one that is sort of like inspired by those Lifetime Women in Danger movies about like a woman stalking another woman and wanting to take over her life. And it's hilarious. And it's all those kind of tropes and that tone. And it's about dogs. And it's just, it's so funny.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for those.
It's a great one. Yeah.
And then,
but it's because I think because of like the characters are so well drawn, no pun intended, that like you can really put them in, you know, it's the show is so character driven in a way that is very inspiring to like want to put them in different kinds of situations and stuff. And like, that's something that like, I mean, Gabby and Jen have done a lot of things very brilliantly, but you know, they've really like, they are evolving the characters and evolving the world in a way that it just like creates even more space to play in. And it's really,
absolutely. And one of the things that I'm always curious about, because as like a member of the audience, I get to sit in the comfort of my home and laugh out loud, and I have like favorite moments and things like that. But for you guys, are there any laugh out loud moments that really stick out in your mind from, you know, beginning to the point where you're at now?
Oh, I mean, there are so many line readings that, I mean, I laugh out loud throughout the table reads because the cast is amazing, and I'm surprised by how, even though I know the script forwards and backwards, I'm always laughing by the way they actually execute the lines. But there are definitely lines that every time we hear, we crack up, right? Like, I'm trying to think.
Yeah. Well, every time I heard Tony say, that one where he said, "No mama to."
Oh, yeah.
No, mom, I'm gonna check my poo
I'm not poo poo. He said
Yeah.
that I look. I mean, because we
Oh,
watched
yeah.
it 1,000 times.
What
Yeah,
episode was that? That was when he is in like the custody battle. What?
Yeah, he's in the custody battle, and he says, "I chose my dad," and and he and he no longer has to compromise my look. And then just the way Tony, I mean, that wasn't on the page. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he wrote LEWQ. We might have spelled look like that, but I mean, he just like took it and made the craziest, funniest choice. And I think about that all the time. But there are so many. I have a lot of
I know. It's one of those
There
things.
was
I
I feel like
one
I
in
have a
the
lot too. I
pilot.
can't remember any of them now.
Well, when you said in the pilot about Mosaic Canine, that I always think of that. That makes me laugh. Um, now I'm trying to think.
Now I'm all stuck in season 2 also, so I'm trying
Oh
to
yeah, season
back
2.
to season 1. But
I love Maria's line, the small fun stuff when she
Oh,
comes
yeah.
in and she's like, "Oh man," like she's like upset that oh, there won't be dogs there, we promise. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, like all that stuff really makes me laugh every time.
yeah. Just her whole casual vibe. Whenever she just inhales, I'm all ready to laugh because what's going to happen next is going to be funny.
Oh, there's one coming up. There's a tag coming up, and I don't know if it's just one of my Maria and Phil do these old rats.
Oh, the
yeah.
rats.
Phil Lamar.
Phil
So funny.
Margaret, they do these old rats like they're 100-year-old, like and Elsa's stuck behind these 200-year-old rats like she's at CVS, and it makes me
It's
laugh.
like they're arguing at the cash register at Raccoon's sort of drugstore, and they're like asking each other questions. It's so funny. It's very slow and very weird. And I think that's really fun in the tag when you can kind of break,
Yeah,
normal pace rules and all that kind of stuff. And just, it's so bizarre and
he
funny.
made it as slow as humanly possible, and it really kills me. It made me laugh every time I watched it.
Yeah, that's episode 2.
They're so funny in it. I mean, they just really went for it. She's Maria's a genius.
That's amazing. And then I guess the other question that I really have for you, so this series, most of it you did almost all of it during the pandemic, right? Like during
Yeah.
lockdown and everything. So how was that compared to other projects that you worked on and just, being at home trying to create the series?
Well, it was definitely challenging. Luckily, we met for maybe like 3 or 4
Couple
weeks
months, yeah.
before the shutdown. So at least we had met our writers face to face, but we have yet to be in a room with our cast all together. And that's really frustrating given the improv skills and the deep talent of every one of these actors. Like if we could just put them together in a room, we probably wouldn't even have to write a script. We could just record it, So I'm really looking forward to a day when we can get them together and they can play off each other, and that magic adds a whole extra layer, to the show. But Bento Box and Fox have been amazing about adapting to the crazy quarantine rules and everything. I mean, we were hardly delayed at all in production just because they got us, sound booths to deliver to the actors' homes, and they just figure out all kinds of like workarounds to get things done, and that was amazing. So
yeah, we were up and running pretty fast.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And that we were never in the room together because of COVID, because the downside of having such an amazing busy cast is that they're always busy, and so it's hard to get everyone at a table read. But because it was COVID everybody was at every table read,
Yeah.
which we wouldn't have had if we were in person because it's
Yeah.
just too busy of a cast.
In
And
table
so-
read, they were there. It
yeah,
was
so
great.
our table reads, although we were on Zoom, sadly not together in person, everybody came to every table read first season. And that was a thrill because that wouldn't have happened. And we got to know each other that way. But before we wrap up, I want to actually also just to go back to something you said, because I really want to also give a shout out to Will Forte because he hasn't come up, but he's such a fucking genius. And when we were talking about casting,
Yeah.
Will, so Shell was a very hard part to cast. Like, I know that the three of us heard it, like we knew what we were looking for, but we didn't hear anybody really. It was like maybe one person that kind of was close to, you know, in auditions that gave us what we were kind of looking for, because and we couldn't find it, and we were, and then Will came up, and you know, he's offer only as well, he should be, but you know, that's always risky because you don't know what, you know, what you're gonna get. I mean, you know, you're gonna get something great with Will, obviously, but it was such a specific character, and we heard him such a specific way, but we were like, great, it's Will, so you know, yeah, of course, we'll offer.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. And if he wants to do it, then thank you. And he did, thankfully. And then we got on the phone with him just so he could like run stuff by us to see.
It was literally like the night before the pilot table read, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
We didn't know what he was gonna do.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
We got on the phone and said, and he's like, oh, what are you guys thinking? And we said, well, what are you thinking? And then he did Shell, and
He
we're
goes,
like,
oh, something like this, and then
Yeah.
just
and just
perfect.
did it like exactly how we'd all heard it. We're like, yeah, that's exactly Shell. And he's a genius too. But I mean, everyone's so great, but that was so like he just nailed, like he knew exactly what Shell was and who Shell was and nailed it in 3 seconds. We're like, well, that's what we wanted, that's what we were thinking, and thank you God for
I
finding
know,
it.
and now he does like every line he makes funny, and it's so just pervy and weird, and I mean, he's just, yeah, he's a gift.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with us. I think the show is amazing. I'm excited for the second season. And then there's some rumor about like a Christmas episode or something like that.
Yeah, we have 2 holiday episodes coming up in November that we're really excited about. So yeah.
How exciting. Cannot wait. Thank you again for taking the time to talk with us
Oh,
today.
Thank you,
Thank
Monica.
you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Great
Have
meeting
a wonderful
You too.
day.
You
you.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.